What's up YouTube? Welcome to the channel. If you're new, my name is Hansel and today we're going to be talking about something quite exciting. So for the last 6 months, I've been a host on Peerspace, and today I want to share those details with you guys from start to finish, finding the space, building out the space, and also what the process was when I got my first couple gigs. So in this time frame, I learned a ton and I want to share with you guys all the details. So if you ever thought about being a host on Peerspace or just curious to see what it's like, make sure you keep watching. All right, y'all, let's start from the top. So firstly, Peerspace. So if you're not aware of Peerspace, it's a platform where people can go to rent unique spaces for like meetings, photo shoots, video shoots, events, etc. So I would say it's pretty much like an Airbnb for creatives / professionals. So let me bring you back to the actual space. So before you even get to put a listing on Peerspace, you need actual space, right? So first, I had to find the space. So it took me a couple months to find the perfect space because pretty much what I wanted was a warehouse space, office space, access to bathrooms, and like a front area. And the spot I'm in now was perfect compared to the other ones, like in regards to price and just the bones of the spot. Like it was everything I looked for. I was like, it's meant to be. Like when I was looking around, I had multiple realtors send me the same exact spot. So I'm like, all right, this is it. Boom, found the spot. All right, so now we have the space. Now it's time to build out. So pretty much I had a couple of big projects I wanted to do to the space and make it more attractive for people to come rent and also beneficial for me for my own content. So some of the main projects were building the psych wall, building the podcast room, which I'm sitting in right now, and also a lot of the small things like props, furniture, and things of that nature. So with the psych wall, I would say is my main attraction, and I'm probably gonna do a whole video on that by itself, but that's the main attraction of the space, having this psych wall, and I would say that's my biggest purchase, I would say, out of this whole build out. And if you want me to get deeper into the actual cost of everything, let me know down in the comments below as well. So got the psych wall done. I did the podcast room pretty much myself. I drew it out myself, and pretty much everything that I drew out is in this room. It's crazy. Like you can see it on the screen now. But this was a 2-month project. I wanted to get done in a month, but realistically, I was lucky to even get it done in 2 months. And it was a great turnout. Everything came out perfect like I wanted it. And now we're ready to list the space on Peerspace. All right, so now you're ready to list on Peerspace. So first, I would say the listing process is fairly easy. You just pretty much answer some questions, put in the description, your address, and you're pretty much good to go. And what the main thing with the listing though, I would say, is the pictures. It's kind of like a thumbnail on YouTube. And if the pictures aren't good and the space is not represented well, nobody is gonna click on your listing. So what I did, well, firstly, you should probably get a photographer to take pictures of your space, but I didn't have the budget to do all that, so I wanted to do it myself. And I'm pretty decent behind the camera. I'm not a photographer or anything, but I can hold my own. So I got my Canon M50 and I took some pictures around the space, and I really wanted to emphasize some of my key selling points of the space. So like my psych wall, my podcast room, different ads that I have, like the add-ons and the pretty much like everything that my studio has to offer. You have to showcase that, like all the way down to the lights, the chairs, the accessories, bathrooms, like how many you have. If you have a dressing room, that's always a plus because a lot of people just have curtains. So just showcasing everything and really letting your space shine goes a long way on Peerspace and will get you a ton of bookings. So of course, my first booking was somebody I already knew, but all the bookings after that were complete strangers. Some of them even became good friends to this day. I was a little nervous at first. I was like, all right, is they gonna mess stuff up? Like, is it gonna go smooth? But some of my guests were very easy to deal with, great people, very creative, and I just love working with them. And a lot of people are repeat, guests in the studio because they love the studio so much, and we just had that good rapport from there. I even have some people came probably like on their 5th time coming to the studio. So definitely had some great feedback, some great experience with some of my guests that I had already coming by. So if you're scared to see what people are, how they're gonna react, just be a good host, a good person, genuine. You're gonna be good to go. All right, next I want to share some of the things I learned over the last 6 months along with a couple tips. So first, let's start off with the learning. So first, communication is key. You have to be very clear on your rules of your space. When you have a space like this, you have to be very clear on your expectations of your guests as well. So they have expectations on you to be a great host. We have expectations on them to be a great guest. So things like noise levels, cleanliness, and also what happens if you damage anything. Because sometimes people have other guests that aren't on the hook if something goes wrong. So things happen. And on Peerspace, if somebody damages anything, you can put in a request and they'll have to pay for those damages. To prevent that and also get a good review in the end of it, make sure you're very clear on what's good to do and what's not good to do, and just be firm in your rules when you have guests. All right, next is something probably obvious, but if you have a space with a cyc wall and it's white, you're going to do a lot of painting, a lot of sweeping, and all that good stuff. Because when people get on the cyc wall, they tend to scuff it, chip the paint a little bit. And over time, like, you can probably get away with it a little bit if it's not that dirty. But once it really gets scuffed, you're going to have to repaint over that. So buying paint every couple weeks becomes an expense. So even though the cyc wall is a moneymaker, be prepared to keep up with the maintenance on it. All right, last piece of learning that I'm going to share, and then we're going to move over into the tips. Firstly, I just wanted to make sure you're aware when you get on Peerspace or a platform like it, they usually take about 19 to 20% off top. So if you're charging $100 per hour, best believe they're getting $20 off of it and you leave them about 80. So keep that in mind, because a lot of studios, I see that they have like a hybrid approach. They have like their own site plus Peerspace and other sites, but that's something to take in consideration as well when you're running your numbers for hosting on Peerspace. So keep that in mind. All right, let's get into the tips. So these tips to set you up to be a power host. A power host is pretty much, it's kind of like a verified check on Instagram or something. Like, you're pretty much verified with Peerspace when you become a power host. So some of these tips are going to help you get there. So listen closely. So first tip, communication. We talked about communication in the beginning to make sure we have a solid foundation with our guests. We got a good understanding. Cool. This is a different type of communication. So say, for example, if somebody comes in with their inquiry or want a book and they want to speak to you, it's in your best interest to respond within an hour, because Peerspace will let people know how quick that you are to respond. And if you're under that hour, that is one of the metrics you get for being a power host. So number one. Number two is being a good host. I mean, this pretty much, really don't have to say it, but I have to say it. Being a good host, because by being a good host, you get more reviews. And when anybody goes online or looks for Airbnb or space to rent, they're looking at the reviews, or even buying anything, they're looking at the reviews. So if you have trash reviews, you're not going to be making no money on Peerspace. I'm just be honest with you. So the better reviews, the more money you make, because more people want to come to you because they trust you, because they see other people have worked with you before and you have good reviews. So that's a metric number two on becoming a power host. So I think it is at least 4.5 stars, and also responding in less than an hour. Those are two metrics that they look at when it comes to being a power host. Third is how many bookings you have. So it's a certain number. I'm not sure. I think I'll figure it out and put it like right here or something. But it's a certain number of bookings you have to have within a certain time frame to become a power host. So if you have all three of those, a certain number of bookings in a certain time frame, you have at least 4.5 stars overall in your reviews, and also you respond in a decent enough time, you will become a power host flat out. It's very easy to do, but you have to do all three of these. Respond quickly, well, within an hour, have good reviews and a good number of bookings, and then you're a power host. So those are some tips that I have, and yeah. All right, my last tip is price. So how do you price your listing? That was pretty much the hardest thing I had to think about before I even listed my space. So pretty much what I did, I went to Peerspace and other sites to see what other studios or other spaces similar to mine were, pricing at, and I pretty much kind of met either on the low end or in the middle. But based on my space, a lot of spaces don't have a photography room and podcast room, and also offering them as a bundle deal. So I was like, okay, let me find out what some similar sizes, specs are charging. And I'm gonna charge a little more because I'm offering a little more. And it's pretty much been working out for me. And yeah, so if you're looking for your price, just go see what's out there in the market, and then kind of start probably a little lower than most people to have like a price competitive edge. Of course, after you run your numbers and make sure it makes sense to do that price with what you already paid and what you're paying a month, blase, but definitely look at the competition, see what they're charging, charge at or around there, and then as you grow and you understand your demand, you can start upping that price from there. Despite the learning curve, it is so beneficial and a great opportunity to be a host on Peerspace for so many reasons, with an extra income being one of them, especially if you have a unique spot. So in my space, I think it's pretty unique because a lot of places don't have a psych wall or a podcast room in the same location. So most spaces that I've seen, they'll probably just have a production room where they just have a bunch of paper backdrops and props, but they don't have a psych wall or a podcast room. So one unique thing about here is I have a lot of people that rent the space, they do a podcast and then go in the other room and do their thumbnail for their podcast. I even also do that myself with my Hustle and Last podcast right here. If you haven't checked it out, link in the description below. Plus, it's been real cool to see like all the creative projects that's been going on in the studio, like photo shoots, video shoots, YouTube videos, commercials, podcasts. It's been so many things that's been going here, and I've been meeting a ton of great people in the process. And briefly, I just want to talk about like the connections I've made just owning the studio. Like just meeting cool people every booking, I would say it's been insane. The networking has been insane because it's been people in here doing TV shows and everything else and all the things, right? But like it's been people that I've done collaborations with, will be doing collaborations with. And I would say just from networking, I have a whole team of production people that I can leverage and go to if need be, just off the strength of building those relationships within the studio. So I said that to say like just by owning the space has created a ton of new opportunity that I'll be definitely showing on this channel as well, so stay tuned. But it's just been crazy just to share. The networking alone has been like A1, like perfect just by owning this space. All right, as we go into 2025, it's a lot to look forward to. So I'm definitely want to scale my business, but it's a couple things I want to work on. So firstly is continuing to be a 5-star host on the platform. As today we are 5 stars across the board with all our reviews. Here are some of them here. But I want to continue to do that and also continue to have that great service for my renters that come through the space. And also I'm looking to add some things to the space as well. So be on the lookout for that to make it more attractive for future renters. So if you have questions about becoming a host or just need tips on setting up your space, feel free to drop them in the comments below. I'd love to help out. All right, y'all, that's it for this video. Thank y'all for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss the next upload. And I'll be definitely making more videos like this on my journey on Peerspace. So with that said, stay tuned. Till next time, peace.